Everything is changing at a rapid speed, especially with how technology has impacted everything. And now that women have more power, it is time to actually empower ourselves and move forward in a way that doesn't hinder from our own perceptions of what we can and cannot do, right? I think that one of the most important elements is being your own cheerleader. We can do it. And if we can lift each other up, we can accomplish so much.
Hello, dear listeners. It's that time again when we stroll through the paths of ambition, desire, and success. Welcome to the Dare to Declare podcast, where we explore the enchanting world of giant manifestors who've turned their visions and goals into the stuff of legends. I couldn't help but wonder, how do some people create the lives they've always dreamed of? Is it the magic of manifesting, the power of perseverance, or perhaps just a dash of serendipity? Well, dear friends, grab your coffee cups because we're about to spill the tea on fascinating journeys of those who dare to dream big and make it happen. Join me as we sip on success stories and ponder the ever-enticing question, can we all manifest our dreams into reality, or is it just an urban fairy tale? I'm your host, Debbi Sluice, and I'm here to guide you through the labyrinth of achievement with heart and soul. Ready to dare to declare? Let's get started. I'm super excited today to introduce you to Katherine Li. And so we met about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. She is a fellow Canadian, which is really exciting, and also a businesswoman. And here's a little bit about her. She's a co-founder at PulseFX, and she specializes in currency hedging, financial financing, and payments. She takes a consultative approach to payments, and her goal is to ensure that clients navigate complex regulations and the FX market conditions. Now, that is like some language that I'm not even familiar with. So I am excited to dive into girl math, and we talked about before, and help me understand and help the listener understand what is that in just like plain English. Can you explain a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Thank you so much for the intro, Debbie. It's so good to be here. And great question. And that is something that I get from so many people from so many different industries and even people in finance, because foreign exchange is never someone's favorite topic. It's not even on the radar of topics to discuss usually in a week. But essentially, in broken down terms, it's just if you have an invoice, you need to pay it. There are multiple currencies you can pay. If you're dealing with cross-border trade and you'd like to expand internationally, chances are you're working with currencies besides Canadian or US dollars. What we do is we help you give some type of insight as to how this market works. And this market actually moves on a every second of every day, very much like the securities market and the commodities market, which is, oil, gold, or the stock market. The FX market moves along with it. We often see that, the Dow Jones will move and the FX market and USD will move right along with it. And sometimes there are moments where you're not sure where the dollar is going, if your currency is losing value, or what you should be doing to protect yourself against it. And to provide that insight, we've seen there's a gap. The gap exists within the small to medium-sized companies. The larger the company, you probably have a department dedicated to this. But the smaller companies, it's usually, founders, accounts payable, accounts receivable, controllers, where they're dealing with month end, year end. It's just a lot. But yeah, that's in simple terms how we move. And I guess the easier way of just a day-to-day person, if you're using a credit card abroad, you're paying in different currencies. That's essentially what it is.
Aha. Okay. So before we get into how you help those founders and small businesses, let's talk a bit about you, the person. And, I met you actually in a social setting. So I know that this is what I know about you is that you like to gather with other women. And you also are a very positive person. And it's something that you enjoy also speaking with your girlfriends. Can you talk a bit about that and your own personal development and awareness?
Yeah, it was such a nice environment where we met, and I think that that was able to breed some natural type of conversation where I find that right now in this world, there's so much dialogue that's missing, and there's such stigma with the topic of financial education. And the more we talk about it, the more I am in it. And being as I'm in this industry, there's not many women in this industry, actually. In my previous role on the trading floor, there was only about two of us,
Wow.
and majority men, only 95% men, 5% women. So it gives you a reference point as to these type of topics are not top of mind. And that actually takes away power from women, whether it is in the household, maybe in career, maybe just in everyday life. There are conversations where I have with my girlfriends on just how to optimize their own cash flow, whether it is balancing rent or mortgage or their credit card bills, and just tips and tricks as to how to better manage finances. And I think that is the aspect that's missing in today's education, whether it is, post-secondary or anywhere, right?
Hmm. So how have you navigated being, such a small percentage, like 2%, in a male-dominated industry? What are some of the things that you could encourage if there's young women listening who may want to follow in your footsteps? And for those that are also in other male-dominated industries, I've spoken with some others as well in my podcast. So, what are some of the ideas that you have as strategies?
I guess what I'm going to say is probably going to sound very cliche, but be yourself and don't sweat the small stuff. My motto is keep moving forward. I'm definitely getting that tattooed somewhere in the future. But I do find that the industry is changing and everything is changing at a rapid speed, especially with how technology has impacted everything. And now that women have more power, it is time to actually empower ourselves and move forward in a way that doesn't hinder from our own perceptions of what we can and cannot do, right? I think that one of the most important elements is being your own cheerleader. We can do it. And if we can lift each other up, we can accomplish so much. Um, and of course, in that, male dominated environment, if I'm being honest with those around me, if I create, radical candor with those, in my team, they're going to listen. Not everyone is going to be, out to get you. As long as you meet people with good intention and also receive whatever they're saying with good intention, I find that that's going to take far, far where our own headspace goes. And I guess one of an example would be when we also like just in relationships, everyday friendships, if we treat people and give people kind of the time of day and then also assume that their intentions are good, it makes our own life easier.
Hmm.
And I find that if it helps you, take it, move forward. Yeah, I guess that's my babble.
No, it's great. And I also know, having spoken to you before, that you have a mantra, talk about moving forward, but also about believing that you're lucky.
Mm,
Can you
yes.
talk a bit about this idea of positivity, about believing that you're lucky?
Yeah, yeah. There's There's I don't know what it's actually called, but I had heard about it through a podcast called Hidden Brain. And also there was another book that I read from Adam Grant, Think Again. There's just different paths of thought that will actually help you move in the direction that you want to move. If you believe that you're lucky, if you fully think that you are a lucky person, there is a way that universe works in a way that provides you with the opportunity that it's going to happen. And I think that goes with taking the opportunities that may or may not present itself and creating that space for the opportunity to arise. You never know until you try. And to be honest, FX was not at all one of the roles that I thought I would ever be in undergrad. And I love it. Now I'm in it. And I accepted the opportunity that presented itself. And of course, creating that opportunity for yourself is just as important. Yeah, but I do consider myself a lucky person.
That's awesome. That's what I really like about you is that it's like the left and right brain together, where um, most often people have the impression, including me, like if you talk about money, it's more of the left brain, which is more logic, reasoning, strategy, goal setting. But in the right brain, where the vision is and the idea of, you talked about universal laws. I'm like, you're preaching my language, like, but you have that combined, which is really amazing. So I wonder, we a bit about, so your Chinese upbringing and your mom, you said she was a single parent, and one of the ways that you got into finance was you helped her with her taxes. Is that right? Can you talk a bit
Yeah.
about that, and maybe whether it was your mom or another mentor that supported you to have both of these sides of you, where you are believing that you're lucky, but then also wanting to have this strong work ethic, and also to follow your passion around finances.
Yeah. Yes. So, uh, my mom's a single parent and she is a force to be reckoned with, amazing at everything she does. And the item that she's not so good at is English. So she gets a bit, I think her English skills are definitely better than she thinks, but of course, not a native speaker, and that kind of holds her back. It's her own thinking that's holding her back rather than her ability to speak, right? So she definitely knows way more than she leads on to be. But at the same time, me growing up in Canada, I have had this education. I'm able to help her with the items that she needs help with. And one of my first jobs in grade nine, in grade nine high school was Kumon. And if you know Kumon, it's a study organization for kids, and I was their math tutor. So I was pretty
Wow.
good at math to begin with, and it really got me, into like personable. I was able to help these kids figure out how to make kind of, a little bit on the more complex equations to what makes sense for them and the different learning skills. And I think that that really built my um, just resilience when it comes to building that foundation and my confidence in what I do now. I also worked in retail and a bunch of different jobs. At one point in high school, I held three jobs. So I was definitely a hustler to begin with. And I think it really taught me the value of money and the importance of money spending habits and talking about it and researching more and more as to what there are, what ways there are to do better, right? There's so many changes in the world that if we're not looking to improve or see what else is out there, we could be missing out on quite a bit. And yeah, yeah. So that's, I guess, how it started.
Cool. And I didn't know that about the Kumon. And I think it's so interesting. Like some of myself included and my friends, like I worried about it with my kids, like, oh, like is a job going to distract them from their schoolwork? And you feel like you're almost protecting your kids, to get them into the sports and into the other things. But you're right, like that work ethic. I love that you said it built confidence and already and that hustle and that drive. And so I know you also have some ideas around sales and how it can sometimes come off as feeling icky. And people talk about it that way. So what's a good way to think about reframing the idea of sales?
Yeah, amazing question, and something that is a work in progress, I want to say, because sales is so important in every company. It is what drives a company. However, when you do talk about, it has the taboo of a car salesman. And of course, I think it's just innate with what we think about. And it's something that I have to unlearn all the time. And still, the path to unlearning is actually very important in creating that space to learn more. And one thing that's really worked for me is really believing in what you are talking about and what you are ultimately selling, right? If you don't believe in what you're trying to convey and believe in the product that you are promoting, then it doesn't work. It doesn't come off as genuine. And if it doesn't actually work for the client, don't do it, right? And I think that was the difference. I had also been in Michael Kors in my last year of high school, and it also put me through school during university. And it's all about, high fashion and purses. And from there, I was able to really understand, certain styles are not good for someone and certain are good at it. But it doesn't matter the dollar value of the product, it's what works for that person. And if you are able to kind of show them and also understand yourself that this works or doesn't work, and if you're genuine about it, it usually resonates with people. And that is, I think, the biggest difference.
Hmm. I agree. And this genuineness also translates into making friends. And, I've been speaking with women lately and talking about the challenge of making friends and how, like in Mel Robbins' book, The Let Them Theory, I talk about that quite a bit, but it's in my book of the year. She talks about the great scattering and how after school, high school, college, whatever, like it's like the institution no longer holds the relationships. And so it's really on us as individuals to cultivate and make friendships. And do you see a parallel with that and also what you just talked about with the sales process?
Yeah, definitely. Love Mel Robbins. She is amazing. I have read the book. It's really helped like my relationship with other people, especially family. Um, but onto the friendship, yes, I do think that there's not normal ways of making friends after a certain age. You don't have school or even office to make friends. And it is on us to keep growing that community. And sometimes if we don't give people a shot, you never know what that other person could add to your life, or even, maybe their story will inspire you so much that you also change your life for the better. There's so many things I think we're missing out on if we're not open to it. And I think that goes back to the lucky side. I find myself as being lucky because I'm also open to making friends at any level in any industry. Um, and it doesn't matter, what your status is or how much you make or like where you're from and where you're at in life. it could be anyone, right? I am actually really good friends with my vet. The front desk of my vet. So
Oh,
she's amazing. And every time I go, it's such a good experience. And sometimes I'll just drop by. I don't like my dog doesn't need to go. I'm just like, hey. And you know, those little moments, the little ties, it's really nice. And it brings humanity back. And I think there should just be more kindness in the world,
For
especially
sure.
nowadays.
But it takes intention too, right? Like you said, I'm just dropping by, but you're making that decision to do that and to cultivate that friendship.
Yeah.
And so is your job, is it virtual? Like, are you working mostly from your home or do you have an office as well?
Yeah, a majority work from home right now. We are looking into office spaces for the future. And then we also have partnerships with companies that, and then we can also use their office from time to time. So it's not a bad setup. And I also go to my co-founder's place and we'll have a spot and just co-work. But primarily from home, it gives me that flexibility. And of course, cabin fever is so real. So after work, I try to go out to as many events uh, while managing burnout.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's amazing that you are a founder. Like that's like congratulations on your accomplishment. Yeah. And so as you're working with clients and small business owners, um, do you see and how do you support people that have this stigma about even talking about money?
Yeah, I think that their small business owners, especially, they have a billion things on their plate. They have to worry about their CRM, their sales, their receivables, their payables, their legal stuff. It's all, and they're wearing so many hats, right? And I think that there are things that they're just kind of like, you know what? I'm just gonna log onto the computer on my online banking account and send it off. And there is that lack of awareness for elements that can help, save a couple of dollars, and sometimes it can be a several thousand, right? It adds up depending on how much you are pushing through in volume as a company. And that conversation, there is definitely an education piece to it, but as long as they're open to seeing how the numbers may work or if they're open to a conversation, usually it goes a long way. An example would be one of my clients. He is a floor importer and he imports from China directly. And all his invoices are in US dollars. He used to send wires from the bank directly to China. And I told him, hey, like, why are we sending US dollars? Ask them for an invoice in CNY. So, like the Chinese currency. So, for him, it's still coming from his Canadian account, but he's able to choose whether or not to pay in US dollar or in CNY. And as you may have seen lately, US dollar has gone up, up and down over 10 cents in the span of just 6 months. With all the things that are happening around the world, we did see a significant difference. We saw about a 5% difference on around $100,000 of invoice, worth of invoice. So that in itself can prove that, maybe you should go direct from Canadian to CNY rather than Canadian to US dollar because the receiver in China is tacking on a buffer that you ultimately are paying because
Got
their
it.
home currency is not US dollar, it's
Right.
CNY.
Right. So, like myself and many of my clients, um, we have US clients. So, can you talk a little bit about how, like, as a Canadian, just very simply, like, if I'm going to invoice, what would be kind of like the savings? Like, how would you see a savings for that. And my other question, this might be totally unrelated. Does tariffs have anything to do with this?
Well, tariffs is an ever-changing thing right now. I feel like
Yeah.
every week we have new news about tariffs.
Right.
So I wouldn't, I guess, bank on the fact that tariffs is going to get better or worse,
Yeah.
because it seems to just be a different result every day. But great question. I think that there's definitely ways for Canadian businesses to have a way to protect themselves when conducting business in the US, especially if they're using payment merchants such as PayPal, Shopify, Amazon US. There is that disconnect where they require a US bank account for the funds to actually be credited to the client in Canada in US dollars. Chances are PayPal is just sending directly Canadian funds into your bank account in Canada, in which case I think the amount that's charged is anywhere from 2.5% to 3% from PayPal to Canada. And that's their standard. It's on their website. It's known. But there are other ways where Canadian clients can protect themselves, where there's these things called virtual IBANs, in which case you can have a virtual account in the US as a Canadian business and receive US dollars directly from PayPal, Shopify, Amazon into this account. And then you're in control of your US dollars. You can move it into CAD when you want to, or leave it there for potential future payables. Um, there's also this, if it gets a bit more complex, but let's say someone has a receivable coming in maybe 30 days or 60 days or 90 days, but they've already invoiced them in US dollars. But, their client is not paying them for another 60 days. And the rates drop or something happens, someone tweets something, US dollar changes dramatically.
Yeah.
And by the time they actually receive their money, the position of the currency has moved out of position. It's just losing value. There's a thing called forward contracts where you can lock in a rate for a duration of time. So you lock in today's exchange rate for 30 days, for 90 days, for up to actually like 2 years. And then that way, if you're project based or if you're expecting money to come in and you don't want it to lose its value from when you actually need to receive it, you can lock it in. And then once the money comes in, then you exchange it at the rate from 5 months ago or 30 days ago.
Right.
It's really useful and it's available to majority of large cap funds. It's just smaller firms, the conversations are not there with the bank and they just don't know it's available to them.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So you're definitely on the small business owner side. And so it's like, again, this may be simplifying it, but it sounds like you're the financial planner for the foreign exchange piece, that someone would come to you and you would support that small business owner to really navigate how they do business and how they can save money. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly. And we've done also partnerships with fractional CFOs, accountants out there where they also have too much on their plate and to even look at FX. And we will bring that value add in keeping them informed as to what's going on. Of course, there's obviously savings on wires and exchange rates, but I think it's more the piece of helping the owner of the business or the finance team just stay aware of what's going on and how their money is moving
Right.
because no one is watching. And I'm getting gray hair from watching.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So, what is next for you personally, professionally?
Yeah, I'd love to be able to work with more female founders. I do think that it is a smaller group, but it is very underserviced, and the conversation needs to flow a bit more and just bring more awareness in terms of finances to female founders.
Mm,
I think that that's it. It's a passion and something I want to be able to focus on, and you know, being able to relate goes a long way. As of right now, we're in growth stage. We're full steam ahead. We've launched also with a lending partner that's really been able to give us a lot of access to invoice financing that pairs well with payments and receivables. But at the same time, I also think, finding that balance, hopefully in the future, will be really nice. I love to be able to spend more of my weekends with my family rather than working.
right,
But as
right.
of right now, work first.
I see. Because as you're in that real growth
Yes,
phase.
exactly.
Amazing. So, how can people reach out to you, find out more about what you have to offer, and connect with you?
Yeah, LinkedIn, Katherine Li at PulseFX, or Instagram. Not on it too often, but definitely able to communicate there. Send me an email, send me a Calendly invite. Love to just meet new people and just chat. Even if you don't do FX and you just want to know what's going on with currencies and different tariff situations, I'm all ears.
That's awesome. And you're a wonderful, amazing, generous person. And I'm so glad our paths have crossed. So, is there any final words for the listener today that you'd like to share?
I am just thankful for this opportunity, and I hope that whoever's listening, this, if any of it resonated to you with you, or if you want to just be, make a new friend, I love to meet you, and thank you so much, Debbie.
Oh, my pleasure. Yeah, it was. I learn every time I talk to you. So, thank you so much. And to the listener, don't forget to dare to declare. Today, we've delved into the realm of manifesting giants, exploring the power of declaring our desires to the universe with unapologetic boldness. But before we bid adieu, I have a little something special to share with all of you dreamers out there. Introducing the Dare to Declare Vision Board magazine and online DIY Vision Board course, your ticket to manifesting greatness in style. Picture this: flipping through pages filled with inspiring images, empowering quotes, and step-by-step guides to help you create the vision board of your dreams. Whether you're yearning for that spacious condo with a view or a love that sets your soul on fire, our magazine is here to guide you every step of the way. Dive deep into the art of manifesting with our exclusive online DIY vision board course. Led by manifesting expert, yes, yours truly, and seasoned dreamers, this course will teach you the ins and outs of creating a vision board that speaks to your heart and soul. So what are you waiting for? Join the ranks of the manifesting giants and dare to declare your wildest dreams to the universe. Head over to our website, debbisluice.com, and grab your copy of the Dare to Declare Vision Board magazine and enroll in our online DIY Vision Board course today. Until next time, keep dreaming big and daring to declare, because in the world of manifesting, the sky's the limit.